Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, fellow council members, staff, and members of the public that are joining us live to the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry Council meeting on Monday, January the 24th. Madam Clerk, can you please call the meeting to order by resolution?
It's moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Gardner, that the meeting of the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry be hereby called to order.
And all in favor of the motion? Great, thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could do roll call.
Councillor Armstrong.
Here.
Councillor Byvelds.
Here.
Councillor Fraser.
Here.
Councillor Gardner.
Here.
Councillor Jaworski. Councillor Laundrie.
I'm present. The only thing is I had the library meeting, the same thing, my camera goes out. So I don't know if I'm going to have to reboot. I can't put my camera back on. It falls off and on and off. So I might reboot, but I am present. I can hear all of you.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Councillor McGillis. Councillor Smith. Councillor Warden.
Here.
Councillor Wirt.
Present.
Warden Williams.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before the adoption of the agenda, I just wanted to apologize to my fellow council members. The Roma conference is currently on, as we all know, and was really not on my radar when we discussed our council meetings for the year. And so everybody is kind of doing double duty today. And so if this meeting has caused you some grief scheduling wise, my apologies. It's not on my radar. Madam Clerk, the adoption of the agenda, please.
It's moved by Councillor Fraser, seconded by Councillor Warden, that Council approve the agenda.
Are there any additions? Councillor Armstrong, did you have are you just bringing that up at the during the budget conversation?
Yes, no, thanks, Madam Warden. I spoke with the clerk and it won't be in addition to the agenda. We will bring it up at budget time.
Very good, thank you. And Councillor Byvelds, you have something?
Yes, Warden, I presented the clerk with a motion that we can discuss at budget or whenever she feels fit is into the right part of the agenda concerning the costing of County Road 7. And the other one is a notice of motion that I will have presented to the clerk for county consideration later on. Thank you.
Okay, so we have an addition of a notice of motion under item 12, and Madam Clerk, where would you like the Councillor Byveld's item?
Through you, Madam Warden, that can be discussed during the budget discussion during item point 62A.
62A, okay, very good, thank you. All right, are there any other additions? Okay, thank you. All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda?
In favor.
Carried, thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, the adoption of the minutes for December 17th, 20th, 2021. Madam Clerk?
Moved by Councillor Byveld, seconded by Councillor Laundrie, that the minutes of the meeting, including the in-camera minutes of the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, held December 17th and 20th, 2021, be adopted as circulated.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? All in favor of the motion?
In favor.
Thank you very much. Item number 5, delegations. We have food and drink venue at Summerstown Forest, and I believe we have Lucy Shaver on Zoom. She was there.
Yep, she's there.
She said,
She's, so my apologies. She's calling in. I'm just texting with her now. She's has to use her phone.
she's on screen. No voice? Okay. And until we get Lucy online here, we have had a cancellation of the ExploreNet expansion delegation. They will not be presenting today.
I just got a message from Ms. Shaver that mobile network not available to dial in, no cell reception. She will keep trying.
Okay, so then we'll move along, and then please just let us know when Lucy is going to be able to join us,
Thank you.
and we'll go back to the delegation. Okay, is that fine with everyone? Item 6, action requests, nothing under corporate services. Financial services 62A, the 2022 budget. Rebecca, do you want to start with us with a discussion on your report, please?
Sure, no problem. Good morning, everybody. So the purpose of this report is to review the amendments to the draft budget that was presented in early December. So I'll briefly review the changes for you. The donation reserve will be used to fund the Ronald McDonald House of $50,000. Purchase of defibrillators through the Police Services Board budget, $12,000 to be funded through the police surplus. Additional OSIF funding was announced actually the day of our budget meeting in December with an additional $1,057,000. So I've included it in the budget as well as an offsetting expense for roads projects that have not been determined yet. We've added the EOWC membership of $8,000. I've also reallocated $5,000 from the roads postage budget to the planning budget. It's just a minor change now that planning is a department on its own, and these costs were included in roads previously. MPAC has provided a notice that their 2022 budget amount will be slightly decreased by an additional $7,000. And I've also received a notification from the City of Cornwall, although their budget isn't, they'll be presenting tomorrow, I believe, but they have notified me that there's an additional $18,000 of a reduction to the shared services budget. So overall, with these changes, we're looking at a decrease of $17,266 to the budget that was presented on December 8th. So those revised changes results in a county property tax rate increase of 1.83%. Tax revenue from the taxation portion will be $52,262,485, which is an increase of almost $1.6 million from the previous year, or 3.1%. So overall, I know it's just a very quick budget. We didn't have very many changes to be made, but I thought it would be open to council discussion. If it's approved, then we can bring the tax rates and tax ratios to the next council meeting. And so further discussion for council is welcome right now.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Russell, for the report. I know we have a couple of items for discussion, and then I will open it up to the floor. Who would like to start? Councillor Armstrong or Councillor Bivalds?
Sure, I'll start. I would like to bring up for everyone, I would like this council to at least enact, if not a study or some sort of, at least directing the Public Works Department to look into the intersection at 7 and 43. I will be completely honest with everyone. Like, you know, I think we've all heard of accidents and we've heard of some ongoing issues. Certainly we don't all pay attention to each and every road, but I'm sure you've heard about this corner. And I know that some of you have been on county council when you put in the rumble strips and the lights and have addressed it. Certainly when former Mayor Duncan was around and those rumble strips came in. And I do agree, there's a lot of safety things that have been implemented there. We do have a flashing light. We have the stop signs going north and south. We the county council, the previous county council, thank you very much, did put in some rumble strips. But here's the reality of the road, and I also believe that sight lines are fairly good. It shouldn't be a place where there's high accidents, in my humble opinion, just from driving for a long time, as everyone has, and from driving professionally. However, the reality is that, and I'll just read you some stats from 2013 to 2021. In 2013, there were 4 accidents. This is just from the standpoint of the fire department, North Dundas Fire Department, responding to motor vehicle accidents. And you have to bear in mind that the fire department is only called to accidents that have either someone trapped in a car for extrication or the vehicle is on fire. So the OPP would have more stats than this for accidents, and so would EMS, which I was unable to get in this timeline, and I apologize for it. But so these are just the worst of the worst for our calls. In 2013, there was 4. 2 people went to the hospital. In 2014, there was 1. In 2015, there was 4. In 2017, there was 3 with 1 fatality. In 2020, there was 2 with 4 people sent to the hospital. And in 2021, there was 3 accidents with 8 people sent to the hospital. So in the last 8 years, we've had 17 accidents that the fire department has had to respond to. We've had at least 1 fatality, and we've had 12 or more people go to the hospital. I'm no longer going to deflect and say that it seems that there's driver error because there's no real reason for an accident. The reality is the reality. Whether it's the safest road on the planet from planning or from sightlines, if an engineer could explain that to us, which is quite possible, the reality is we're still having accidents, as many accidents as most roads, I would say. I think that's fair to say, and that's not something that we want to have happen. If we added OPP results and the EMS results to this, I don't know what these numbers would be, quite frankly. So I would like to see this council, if you could, please join North Dundas in believing in dictating to our roads department that we need to come up with a solution. I apologize that I'm not suggesting any solution because I'm not a roads guy. I don't know if it's a 4-way stop sign. I don't know if we, excuse me, if we should have a roundabout. I don't know if it should be stoplights, but something needs to be done at that road. I know we can't do it this year, but I would like to at least have a study done, or have Ben and Michael and Trevor look into it and bring a solution to this council perhaps, and if not, definitely for next council. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Councillor Bivalds.
Thank you, Warden. I'd like to speak in support of Councillor Armstrong's ask here from the Director of Transportation. As much as I don't live in North Dundas or near the village of Chesterville, I worked in Chesterville. I have relatives in Chesterville. I know that intersection fairly well, certainly not as much as Councillor Armstrong, but I would be just as perplexed as he is concerning the number of vehicle incidents there. We did have one with a large truck a number of years ago, and everybody's still scratching their head on what happened there. So I think doing a study or coming up with either an in-house study, or if it needs to go further, then I'll let the director figure it out and go further. But, Councillor Armstrong alluded to some suggestions of fixes. We're not the experts. We rely on the expertise of those within staff and consultants that we do hire. So I do suggest that County Council supports Councillor Armstrong in this and see if we can come up with some answers to our questions, and if so, a solution to what needs to be done to that intersection. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Bivalds. Councillor Fraser, and then Councillor Gardner, please.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, Councillor Armstrong is absolutely correct. A study needs to be done, and I appreciate Councillor Bivalds joining in with his concern. It is a concern for all of us. And my time on the fire service, I was well aware of the danger of that intersection, but unaware of what the danger was. The sight lines are clear. The sight lines are good. It's a hard one to understand why it's there. But at the end of the day, I am looking forward to support of Councillor Armstrong's concern. It's a concern that should be shared by all of us. It's a county road intersection, county roads intersection, and we need to a solution needs to be found. A return of a report saying that everything is fine and everything is clear. We've heard that, but yet, as the Councillor Armstrong has made clear to all of us, there are lots of incidents that take place, and many more that we are unaware of. The near misses haven't been calculated. As someone that grew up in Chesterville and has traveled and been through that intersection many times in my years, even with the clear sight lines, there is still a fear held by many people that there's something wrong, and it needs to be addressed, and a solution needs to be had, and not a reaffirmation that there's nothing wrong with the intersection. Clearly, there's something there that needs serious study. And thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. Councillor Gardner.
Thanks, Warden Williams. I too would support this. That's an intersection that I frequent on my way to Ottawa. And, you know, while I'm no expert, you can see kind of the history of the bigger stop signs and more signage and the rumble strips and stuff like that. It's funny, when we were looking at it, I was with my husband, and there's definitely clear sight lines, but it does appear, and I'm not an expert, but my husband mentioned it, you look at it and it seems almost like an optical illusion that you have more time than you actually do to cross from one side to the other. So I fully support this. We've had other areas in SDG where accidents and fatalities have triggered altering the landscape enough to stop it. So in my mind, if it's one fatality, it's one too many. So I definitely support this.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Councillor Gardner. Councillor McGillis.
Thank you, Madam Warden. After hearing about the near misses and accidents at that intersection, I think it warrants a study. I think there's money in a budget to do that too as well. I just wanted to ask Ben, I know we've done a lot of studies at different intersections over the past few years. I'm just wondering, what kind of money are we looking at to do a study? I know that there's funding there available, but what kind of funding are we looking at, or cost?
Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. You know, I guess I want to reiterate, I appreciate the hearing all the comments, and it's absolutely true. You know, we've looked at this kind of at a staff level many times, and I do think we're at that point now where let's have independent set of eyes on it, and so it makes a lot of sense to you know, outsource this kind of look. From a study perspective, you know, we're probably in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. So it's you know, we've got the capacity within the budget as presented to through various miscellaneous items within our work program to be able to offset this fund or offset that cost. So I would say, you know, a $10,000 cost for that kind of study.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. I'm hearing that that this item can be managed through the existing budget, which is good news. I haven't heard anybody object to this proposal, so I'm assuming that the majority of council members are in favor of this. It sounds like a very good idea. If anyone would like to speak against it, please speak now. Otherwise, I'd like a show of hands in terms of whether you think this is a good idea. Oh, go ahead.
For you, Madam Warden, I've drafted just some simple motion just to direct staff to proceed.
Very
Yeah,
good.
sure.
Thank you.
It will require a seconder. It's moved by Councillor Armstrong, and it states that staff be directed to outsource a safety review for the intersection of County Road 43 and 7 to be funded from the 2022 budget.
We have a seconder.
I think Councillor Armstrong had something to say first.
If I could, Madam Chair, just one thing to add to it, and I thank everyone for their support, and I thank you for your support. I would want to ask that, and I've had this discussion with Ben as well, as Councillor Fraser said, and I'm sure as Councillor McGillis and certainly Councillor McDonald would, and I think Councillor Byvelds would also know as the returning gentleman. There have been studies come back and they all say that, you know, engineering wise, it is safe. And I'm not disagreeing with that. But the fact is, with the litany of accidents that I just read you, I would like this study to be at least predicated on the fact that we've identified there's a problem. What is the best slash most economic, cost-effective solution? Because I, you know, not that it's all about me, but I would really, it will be a really long meeting if we just get back a study that says it works perfectly as far as from an engineering standpoint, and there's no lack of safety there. So I would like, when we enact this study, to have it enacted with the direction that says find a solution to the safety problem, if all the members would be okay with that.
Go ahead, Councillor, or Ben. Go ahead, Ben. No.
There we go. Sorry, clicking and it's not going. Yeah, no, that's that. I hear what Councillor Armstrong's saying, and we'll make sure in the scope of the work that that's exactly what is what the outcomes we're looking for are. Because I appreciate that comment that you just don't want to hear again that it is safe from kind of a design perspective. So we'll make sure it's scoped in a way that's give us recommendations to make it safer.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I was just saying I was asking to be the seconder to that motion.
Very good. So we have a mover and a seconder. And are there any other comments? Councillor Armstrong, are you suggesting that the motion be changed, or are you fine with that motion the way it is?
No, I trust Mr. Dahan to make sure that he passes along our wishes and our intent for that motion. That's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. I think that'll be a good, much needed study. Now we'll move on to, I believe, Councillor Byveld has an item in the budget.
Thank you, Warden. Madam Clerk, do you need to read the initial motion before we go any further on this? Because I think I'm no disrespect to the Warden, but we missed that step.
Oh, for the overall budget, we can read it at the end. Yeah, we can read it at the end.
Okay, so I'm in communication with the Warden and the clerk on a motion. Before I ask the clerk to read it, I will give you a little bit of background. When we had our budget discussion back in December, and it seems like eons ago now, that we had a letter of concern about County Road 7 and doing all of County Road 7, including the strip from Froats Road in Dunbar to County Road 8, going to the northeast from an elevator system that's located in North Stormont, but uses that road extensively. Since then, I was approached initially by Dundas Federation of Agriculture when they were looking at South Dundas's budget, and I had asked them to give us any thoughts or concerns that we at South Dundas had to deal with. And of course, the usual looking at roads and bridges from their point of view was emphasized. However, within the scope of the letter, they also mentioned about County Road 7 and the need for that road to be fixed up. And at that time, they had no idea who was fixing what at that time. I did write them back and told them that we were fixing some of it, but not all of it. And they were concerned about that. And I asked them to write a letter to County Council, so at least you know that agriculturalists and farmers in Dundas County are concerned about the condition of that road and would at least like County Council to entertain fixing all of it, not just part of it this year. So I know that within the scope of the work we have going out right now, it's not part parcel of the hot mix contract. And I also know that Director of Transportation is very eager to get this work out there. So within the motion, I had to put a thought, and I think I'm going to ask the clerk to read the motion, and I'll go on the reasons why. And I think there's ways of at least figuring out what we should do next. Go ahead, please.
For you, Madam Warden, it's moved by Councillor Byveld, seconded by Councillor Gardner, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry direct the Director of Transportation to add as a provisional item to the hot mix contract for 2022, the section of County Road 7 from Froats Road to County Road 8, and determine any other improvements necessary to do this section of roadway and present to County Council the cost, along with any other items needed to be done on the road infrastructure at either the council meeting after the tender opening or at a special council meeting specifically dedicated to a discussion on now need roads, along with the use of the Ontario Community Infrastructure Funds that are a top up to the county's 2022 allotment.
Okay, so I have Councillor McGillis wanting to speak to this, but Councillor Byveld, do you have anything further, or can Councillor McGillis ask his question and then you can carry on after that?
I'll add a little bit, Warden, to it. I just thought this was a way that we can get some serious costing on it without being totally committed. I know that there was a talk of having a special council meeting concerning the now need roads and the funding of that through what may be of any surpluses from 2021, which we do not know yet. However, we do know that the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund is sitting there. I had speculated at our budget meeting it would be about $1 million to do, and as I said, I know that throwing this on the table right now, or may have given, or at that time may have given the Director of Transportation some time to cost something out or have an idea what he needs to do, due to the fact that he hadn't done the earlier work, and there's also an urban profile in the village of Dunbar that would have to be dealt with. So I would defer to Ben and get his comments first, and then you can certainly go around and see where County Council is. But I do believe that this gives us an opportunity without getting locked in and without adding to a contract later, which always costs us more than you really, really want it to. So that's it. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you, Councillor Byveld. If you don't mind, Councillor McGillis, we'll hear from for Ben, and then I'll go to you if that's okay. Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess a couple of thoughts with respect to County Road 7. I mean, and I've said this, I think, individually and in other meetings in the past, that any extra work we're doing beyond the 4-year plan is you know what we in our department considers gravy. It's great. It's good. It's moving the condition of our entire assets up. So I always enjoy doing extra work. It makes it really feel like we're getting ahead, which is, I think, a great feeling. For some context for council, whenever we are working in this 4-year plan, things we're doing is, for example, last year we're replacing culverts on the roads where we know we're paving the year before. So having that understanding of where we're going is very useful for our staff because we can get ahead. And that's, I think, some of the missing information that we're going to have on this section of roadway. And that's not to say that that's not a challenge we've overcome in the past. We do it, whenever we add additional work in and we're able to accomplish it. And I think it's, our staff do a wonderful job at being able to add that information in. Similarly, as we're working through the 4-year plan, we're doing a geotechnical analysis. So we're actually digging boreholes, getting a good understanding of pavement depths and whatnot. And what becomes challenging at this time of year to get the right information is, of course, with the snow and the frost, like the challenge of getting asphalt depths and borehole, understanding the condition of culverts. So those are things that we have to go, there's still a lot of some legwork to do to include that in the contract. And as Councillor Byveld's mentioned as well, just the urban profile and some of the challenges we're probably going to have with property limits. I took a look at some of the property information we have, and we're quite tight with property limits. That all being said, if we extend some of the pricing that we're carrying for County Road 7, Councillor Byveld's is bang on. We're in the $1 million. If everything remains the same, it's in the $1 million range for this additional work. Because it's about 4.5 kilometers. So again, we're kind of using that unit rate per kilometer that we've estimated out on the section a little bit north of there. So those are really two of my big comments. I guess what I would suggest is, although we could carry it in the hot mix contract, another alternative we can do as well is we can take it out of the hot mix contract and try and capture it all together with those pieces as provisional, so that we still kind of accomplish our 4-year plan, make it its own big project. That's an alternative that may actually work, and then give us the time on the staff side to kind of put all this information together and have good, I guess a little bit more of a solid scope of work for council. But we'll take direction as we get it, and we're happy to accomplish the gravy work for sure.
Very good. Thank you, Ben. Councillor McGillis.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, that's my answers were, my questions were answered and my concerns were answered in terms of the description of the project and the costs. Thanks, Ben, for reiterating that.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that I also was contacted by the president of the DFA, Mr. DeVries, and we had discussions on it, and I have spoken with Councillor Byveld on it, and I do think it is a road that needs to be addressed. I think it should be done as soon as possible, and there are a lot of people traveling that road just on a daily basis, but there are also a lot of people just trying to make their living or part of their living on that road as well, and I think the time has come. It would be very unfortunate to have to leave a 4-kilometer stretch on a road that's as used as that, especially by the agricultural community. But also, it's not strictly an agricultural road. There's a lot of traffic on that road that of people trying to get to work, from work, or actually while they're working. So I certainly support Councillor Byveld's initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong. I'm not hearing anybody object to this. I'm thinking that, okay, we have Councillor Landry and then Councillor Byvelds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So not to show full support. So I have issues, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one. So we spend a lot of money on whether it's strat plan or asset management. We build up what's called the 4-year plan, and for the last 2 years, we've been hearing a lot about the now need roads. So that 4 extra kilometers that we're looking at on County Road 7, if there was a need at the time, it would have been part of the plan. So from seeing administration or the roads department doing only that certain section, I would like to understand and not turn this into political. So we look at the 22, which is in our scope of work to be done. There's work that's being done on it. We allocated some funds towards that, but at the same time, it's not guaranteed. But potentially 2023, maybe 2024. So I believe that is on the 4-year plan. If we talk about, I'm sure the Stormont Federation is in the same boat as Dundas. I also look at the McEwen's coming out of Maxville, the trucking. So there's needs not only there, here, and everywhere. And I just have a hard time where making a demand saying, okay, doing that extra 4 kilometers again was not in the plan. And maybe Ben, you can answer that. Why was not in the plan if it's such a need now road? And again, I don't want to turn this into where it's more just political. I want to hear from our roads department, knowing where we stand as far as moving forward. So potentially, I don't know, Ben, if you can add to my question, and I'd like to hear comments from other board members. Thanks.
Go ahead, Ben, and then Councillor Byvelds.
Thank you. So to answer specifically, Councillor Landry, that section was not included in the in the 4-year plan. The 4-year plan is really based on the condition of the roadway at the time. We're evaluating all of the roadways, and then essentially what we're doing is we're identifying roads that will provide us with the best, we'll call it the best return on investment based on a budget, a budget number that we have provided. So that section for, I couldn't tell you the specific reason that was not included in the 4-year plan. So Where we are now, we're in the enviable position where we have that extra money, and I appreciate what you're saying, because there, on the staff side, we also, it's good to have a good plan in front of us. We've talked about a variety of different roadways, and certainly, it is up to council to give direction in terms of the extra money we have to spend, where they want to spend it, and I appreciate if I'm going to paraphrase what you're saying, is we've talked about some other now needs roads, and what about those ones, and I guess really that's we'll take the direction as we get it, and we'll make sure that whatever council wants to see done based on our budgets and the numbers we can provide, and I guess I'll let council determine where they want to spend that extra money.
Go ahead.
If I could just sum up. So, okay, no, thank you. And I agree when you're looking at cost savings and to do the extension. My only worry, there's pressure everywhere. So we're getting pressured from our constituents that are saying about 22, which is in really big need of reconstruction. So I just don't want to get where it keeps getting pushed off for the now needs. So we have to also follow the plan. And if I'm told that we are going to follow that plan, I am full support. But if I'm going to be told in 2023 that, now we have to push it to 2024 because we're $1 million short, is where I have a hard time justifying it. So thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Frank. Ben, I do believe there's a plan for that road already underway.
For County Road 22?
Yes.
Well, there's an example of, so what Mike and I spent a good part of the summer doing was we had, there's quite a list of, we'll call it now needs roads, and we'll call it, they are now needs roads, which means that they need some kind of attention, but they haven't fit into the budget box that we've given our asset management plan. So what Mike and I did over the past summer is we went out and we evaluated all of those now need roads based on the condition of the roadway today, because recall this 4-year plan was created 4 years ago. So now, roads have continued to deteriorate and whatnot. And what we were providing to council for their consideration when we discuss the now needs roads is, here are essentially the top 5, we'll call it worst rated roadways. So that's what we were providing we are intending to provide to council in terms of, here's those roads, here's what it costs to fix those roads up. This section of County Road 7 was not in that list. Was it in the now needs roads? I if I'm being honest, again, there's a lot of documentation detail that has to go into looking at these things. I don't know the answer to that right at this exact moment, but I'm be happy to bring that back to council with, kind of as part of that comprehensive look at now needs roads. But that all being said, ultimately, council can say, that's wonderful, Ben and Mike, thank you for doing that. But, we see this as a priority and for valid reasons. I'm not suggesting that why council's thinking about County Road 7 is not a valid reason. It's a very valid reason. We're doing paving on both ends of it. Council wants to connect the two. It's, that's a valid reason. So ultimately what it comes down to is defending I guess where that extra money is going, and that's I leave to the judgment of council in terms of where they want to do that.
Okay, thank you, Ben. I've got a lineup of people here who want to speak. I have Councillor Byvelds, Councillor Fraser, Councillor Gardner, and Councillor McGillis. But we have a motion on the table that's asking for County Road 7 to be added provisionally in the work that is already approved in this budget or will be approved. So that's the discussion I'd like to be having at this point in time, is pertaining exclusively to that. And so because I think that this is going to get rediscussed at a subsequent meeting in February. And if council is agreeable, I think probably what we should do is have a meeting exclusively to discuss the extra OSIF dollars and the provisional item that is currently on the table, and any other roads that council would like to have a discussion on with regards to those extra dollars. as well as have the discussion of the now needs roads in the same context at the same meeting. So if council is agreeable to that, a separate meeting in February, then we can really kind of get down to the nuts and bolts of this, and not really have to hash it all out right now, because there's information that we don't have currently in front of us. And then that way, what we can do is just look at whether or not council wants to consider this in the provisional, as added to the provisional item, and then move on. Councillor McGillis, go ahead. I'm sorry, Councillor Byvelds was first. Sorry,
He's spoken enough.
He's spoken enough. Councillor Byvelds, are you going to speak, or are you going to pass it on to Councillor McGillis?
No, thanks, Warden. I will speak because I had there's a few things that came across, and no disrespect, Councillor Landry, but I do recognize fully that County Road 22 between Maxwell and 138 needs to be done, and fully support whatever has to be done in this term. And I know that we are putting money into getting it ready. Whenever we're ready to roll, you would have my full support. I don't consider 7 political. I consider it common sense approach, where we're doing 2 sections of roadway that are in fairly poor shape. I can't say it any other way. We'd look like idiots if we don't do the piece in between, because they're going to be driving on the road and they say, "Oh, this is great. They fixed the road." And oh, what happened? Oh, and then they fixed the road again. And somebody will say, "Did they run out of money?" Maybe we did run out of money, and we made a decision not to do that. Ben, you had mentioned about not wanting to put it in the hot mix contract, and I'm not disagreeing with you because we aren't technically ready. Then what's your viable way of looking at this that makes sense from your department, but still gives us an idea of A, what it's going to cost, and B, most of my thinking is whoever gets the hot mix contract should get that piece. You wouldn't want, let's say, Tomlinson to do the 2 corners, and then all of a sudden in comes Cornwall Gravel to finish the chunk in between, because we did it after. And the mobilization costs are always something I keep in mind, because you and I both know it costs money to run all that machinery up and down roads. And if I was doing a stretch of road and I knew I can do more, I perhaps can give a better price because of that. And that's where I'm coming from. And as I said, not trying to make this political, I'm just looking at a very common sense problem that needs a common sense solution. And I'd be certainly willing to alter the motion to make it work for the department, but I really don't want it to be left off the table, that we won't have this opportunity to rediscuss again. As I said, either at a council meeting or as the board has suggested, a special council meeting to discuss A, to 9 needs roads, and B, how we're going to spend the OSIF money going forward. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Councillor McGillis, then Councillor Fraser, Councillor Gardner, then Councillor Wirt. Go ahead, Councillor McGillis.
All right, thank you, Madam Warden. I guess I'll wait until I get the information that Ben's going to get for us. I'd like to see a list again of the roads that are already on that now needs study. We go to a lot of cost to get these type of studies, so that we know what roads we want to do. And we've all followed that, we're all in favor of following it. Now we're going to move off, we're going to skip every one of them, and now we're going to move to a new road just because we have some extra money in the pot, which is, to me, is a little bit, aggressive. I think it is a little bit political myself personally, but it's I'll be fair enough to wait to see what what the outcome of your investigation is, in terms of the cost. And I'd like to get a list of the roads that are already on the now needs. Just give me a list of them, or give everyone a list of that, so that we know what roads we're not going to be doing and we're going to surpass. So I think it's important that we follow what the mainstream is and keep continuing with our studies that we've done previously. But let's see if it's warranted or not. I'm fair enough to do that.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor McGillis. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Madam Warden. To some of the comments that we've had the opportunity to hear, the studies are necessary. The studies are absolutely necessary. The studies are needed to guide us. Without a study, we'd just be floating along, making assumptions. But saying that, they do guide us. It is up to council to make decisions, and decisions that sometimes go outside of what a study may say. This is a link, and to Councillor Byveld's point, it's part of the missing link. We'll get that looked after. This is a heavily used corridor. And not speaking, as you asked, Madam Warden, about the other road that was brought up. It's a heavily used corridor. Councillor Byvelds has received concerns. Councillor Armstrong, myself, we've heard from the agricultural community. We've heard from commuters. We've traveled it ourselves, and I'm sure other members of council have traveled poor roads as well. But this is an opportunity for us to, as Director DeHaan has spoken before, of improving and having our roads seen as high quality roads, and having that section in between, as Councillor Byveld spoke about, unmaintained or not maintained in the same fashion, does not speak well to the high quality roads that we have in SDG. And I do understand the frustration expressed by others, and the frustration I'm sure that will be expressed by others, but it is council's decision to move forward, and I look forward to some type of support, or the support for some type of movement on County Road 7 and fixing up that section. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Fraser. Councillor Gardner.
Thanks, Warden Williams. I agree with this section being added. I think it speaks to efficiency, a good use of dollars. I think if we leave it out when you've got a road that you've got one end being done and the other end being done, and then say we do the middle a couple of years from now, then you're talking about additional cost as a standalone project. So speaking to the efficiency of doing it this way, having the extra funds, I definitely support this.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Councillor Wirt.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think the fundamental issue that we're looking at here is dollars. And the one thing that I think Ben could take advantage of is that the road user agreement that's coming in and pertaining to the land, to the windmills, should provide the counties with another influx of cash that's not seen in the budget. And my understanding is that it will be in this year's fiscal. So I think we'd be prudent to allow Ben to take all these factors into consideration and come back to us with, I mean, we all want to spend the money where it's the smartest, and we're all under pressure, especially given the fact that we're heading into an election. I think everybody gets that. But at the same time, I think we're judged by smart money being spent, and let's get all the facts in front of us to be absolutely sure that we follow that stream. So Ben, I don't know if you can comment on that, but are you comfortable that we'll see that agreement in some capacity in this fiscal year?
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my mute button today. Yeah, no, I'm confident. We're kind of nearing the end of our analysis of the road condition ratings.
It starts in Dunbar at Froats Road, which is on the south side of Dunbar, and then it runs.
Councillor Fraser, can you please mute?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, we're at that point where we're getting through the final kind of, I guess, iteration of our review of that road users agreement and conditions. And so I have every confidence we'll be in this fiscal year where we'll finalize where we land with the wind farm.
Okay, very good. Now I'd like to I'll give you one last word, Councillor Byveld's, in a minute. Then I'd like a vote on this to add, and it's being added provisionally. It is going to come back for discussion at a subsequent meeting, along with the now need roads. So no decision is actually being made today on whether that project will go forward or not. But we are, what we're asking for is whether or not this can be added provisionally. And so, Councillor Byvelds, one last comment, and then I would like to put this to a vote.
Thanks, Warden. I understand your concern. Ben had concerns about putting in the provisional contract, and I would be comfortable taking that out of the motion. However, the rest of the motion stands that I still want County Road 7 to be highly considered on the OSIP funding and now need road money. If he feels that it's going to constrain his tender, or he isn't ready to do that, that's fair enough. I can understand that. However, if he also feels it's a place where he can extract information from the contractor, that'll be up to him. But once we have that information, we can make that decision. So Ben's comment on that, whether we take it out, if he still feels that he can still use it, or if he, I don't want to lose the ball by not by taking it out.
Ben.
Yeah, I see like this type of project, if we're going really from, we'll call it almost Marcellus Road up to 43, like that's a big stretch of roadway. And I don't necessarily think we're gaining any huge cost advantage by keeping it in the hot mix contract. If I'm being quite honest, there's a lot of tons that are going to go down. So it's going to be a competitive, project on standing on its own, very similar to County Road 8 that we did last year, and adding that extra in, like that's, that in itself, a lot of tons go down. The cost of the mobilization or some of those administration costs, like they more or less disappear. So if that's a priority, if that's the the non-included piece of County Road 7 is a priority for the additional money we have from council, then my recommendation would be let's tender it all as its own project. And then that gives staff enough time to actually get the right kind of information together so that we can give council some really good numbers on it. And also it lets the hot mix tender continue on. And quite frankly, we'll have some good 2022 pricing at that point too. So that'll help us to even dial in that cost estimate even better. So that would be my suggestion. Because including it as a provisional item in our hot mix contract, I don't have utmost confidence that what we would do on that section of road is exactly the same as what we're doing elsewhere. And I'd be afraid we're missing something. And that's my only caution on that.
Okay, thank you, Ben. But this doesn't tie council into a commitment on that extra piece. Is that correct?
No, it doesn't tie council in. I think what maybe if I could, if we want to talk provisional items, maybe what we do is we add like the sections that were in the 4-year plan, those 2 pieces of County Road 7, maybe we include those as provisional in our hot mix contract, just so that if council decides, hey, we don't want to spend that extra money on the in-between piece, then we can still get 7 done under that contract. So that might be an option.
Okay, Councillor Bivalds.
Thank you, Warden. So, Madam Clerk, can you go back to my motion? And I'm hoping that the seconder agrees that we will take out as a provisional item to the hot mix contract for 2022, that wording.
Yep.
And the rest stays.
I can read something if you'd like through you, Madam.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
So it would read that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry direct the Director of Transportation Services to determine any improvements necessary for County Road 7 from Froats Road to County Road 8 to complete this section of roadway and present to County Council the cost, along with any other items needed to be done on the road infrastructure at a special council meeting specifically dedicated to a discussion on now need roads, along with the use of the Ontario Community Infrastructure Funds that are a top up to the county's 2022 allotment.
Thank you. Is the seconder good with this revised motion? Councillor Gardner, yes? Councillor Gardner is good to go. Any last comments, please? Okay, then we will call the vote. All in favor of the motion presented? I can't see everybody's hand. Any against? All in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you very much for that, everybody. Now, just to finish this item off, I think we will be holding a special meeting. I would encourage all council members to forward. Ben is going to be providing us with the information with regards to the now need roads, as well as other information with regards to County Road 7. I would encourage county council members to please give Ben any other additional requests in advance, so that he can be prepared with all of the information. And I would also encourage you to let all of us know. Just put us all on the email if you don't mind, please, so we know what's coming. I'd like. Are there any other suggestions or requests with regards to the 2022 budget that is in front of us today? Because if there are no other requests or discussion, Rebecca, do you have something, or am I just asking the clerk to read the motion? You're good? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you would please read the motion.
It's moved by Councillor Wirt, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry approve the 2022 budget as amended.
Questions, comments? It's your last chance. Councillor Wirt?
Through you, Madam Chair, and this is probably because I didn't mark it down, but what did we use as the COLA on the settlement for our staffing positions?
3%. We use 3%.
3? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, everybody. And I'd like to apologize to Lucy Shaver for the delay. Is Lucy ready to go with her delegation? Mike, do we have Lucy?
She is in the meeting. She just has to unmute. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Lucy.
Okay, hello. Thanks for letting me attend the meeting. Yeah, basically what I'd like to do is set up a little venue at the Summerstown Forest, just offering snacks, drinks for the people. And I noticed I was there the other day, there's a lot of people bring their dogs, offer some dog treats, water there. Pretty well healthy snacks, dried fruit, some cheesy crackers, maybe granola bars, nuts, tea, coffee, hot chocolate, stuff like that. I checked the Eastern Ontario Health Unit to try to find something similar. I couldn't find any regulations stipulating whether or not I would be able to serve something, say like chili that I made at home. So I'm not sure on that. My other idea was I have one of the little, I don't know what you call them, it's a little fire, not a fire pit, but it's like a little stove that I'd have a little fire going there. People could warm up around with a bench. I'd offer, garbage pickup, recycling at my station. And I did notice there is power there. I didn't know if I would be able to utilize that, if I was serving hot items, or to use for like a coffee making machine. So basically, I just wanted approval to go ahead with this. If anybody has any questions, or if there's any permits I would require for this.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Do you have anything further to say, or I'll open it up for questions? You good? Questions or comments, please, from members of council? Councillor Warden.
Thank you, Warden Williams. I think this is a neat idea. The traffic at that Summerstown Forest has gone up exponentially in the last couple of years, and I think offering that might be good for the users. So I don't have an issue with this, provided that the rules of the health unit are followed.
Thank you, Councillor Warden. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Madam Warden, and thank you, Lucy, for your presentation. It's interesting because I've had a couple of other residents actually ask similar questions about being able to offer food or beverage at Summerstown Trails. So I think it would be, I think it would be really interesting. I think it sounds like an idea that could have legs, and I think it would be important to sort of clarify what's the process that would be involved to allow that to happen. I mean, I know in South Glengarry, we redid our food truck bylaw that somewhat ties into this, but I mean, I know speaking for myself, I would be unclear on how it would work in a situation like this where it's county-owned property. So looking forward to what I guess staff could come back with in terms of how the process would work.
Thank you, Councillor Jaworski. CAO Simpson, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I was just thinking maybe the next step would be to, this was brought forward because it is, as Councillor Jaworski said, it is kind of new territory. Maybe just a quick get together with township officials, Ben and his staff, and Ms. Shaver to talk through how it would work, and then come back with some type of proposal.
Very good. That sounds like a good idea. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I have maybe 3 thoughts on it that I've come up with after listening to Ms. Shaver. One was the litter that I'm sure we see as we see fast food coffee cups laying about in the ditches, and the need to keep looking after that. There's definitely going to be litter. But one of the comments I have, when I go out to Warwick Forest with my family and friends, we go out for the serenity, just not to sound too over the top, but just to be part of the nature that's there, to enjoy the nature, to an escape almost. And I think that would be lost. There's potential to lose that feeling. And then I also think of the other venues that are held municipally or maybe at the county's level. Would you be, I think there would be thought of rent, of compensation, as we do with other enterprises. If they rent the canteens in our facilities, if they set up shop on our property, how is that going to be managed, the financial end of it? I think there's lots of things to consider, but there's also, in my opinion, the thought of the commercialization, if you would, of these natural environments. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. That's a good point, to keep these focused on the natural heritage, for sure. I'm thinking that Ms. Shaver just said that she would be looking after trash bins. She put that in our chat. Just answer that question. If there are no other questions or comments, then I think we'll leave it with staff, both on the county and the lower tier level, to continue the discussion and bring a report back to council. Are there any other items on this for discussion? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Shaver. I would like to thank you very much for your delegation, and you will be hearing more formally in a month or so. So thank you. Okay, thanks everyone. Moving right along. We don't have anything with transportation or planning, court services, county library, or IT, or tenders or quotations. Item 8, bylaws 8.1. We have removal of 0.3 meter reserve on SDG 46, which is McDougall Street. Madam Clerk, if you please read the resolution.
It's moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Jaworski, that bylaw number 5332, being a bylaw for the purpose of establishing land as part of the highway, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thank you. Ben, can you please speak to this?
Yes, thank you. So I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can all see that. It's just, I guess, help to visualize what what is being requested of council here. So this had to do with a severance in Alexandria, in the town of Alexandria on County Road 46, which is McDougall Street West. What the developer is doing, and the lot fabric for these lots was a little bit, I would say a little bit atypical in terms of how it aligned with the roadway. So developers looking to construct some dwellings there, and really looking to realign some of the lot fabric, which, I'm not going to speak from the planning side of things, but I can appreciate why the developer is proceeding in this way. Ultimately, what we discovered as they were going through that process was that some 1 foot reserves had been established based on the old lot fabric. And what this bylaw is doing is removing them just altogether so that they have open frontage, and we can work out where exactly the driveways will end up for all of the different lots that are being built on. So it's just cleaning up some old 1 foot reserves that were historically created, and making sure that the developer is ready to go in the future.
Thank you, Ben. Questions or comments from County Council, please? Councillor Landry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Ben, I think we've spoke in the past on this. I think you know where I stand. So these 1 foot reserves falls into many areas across SDG that we have these that removed. There's two concerns of mine that I have. So the intent of the sketch shown having the 1 foot reserve, basically just the gap where the actual driveway stands would prevent. I've always thought where any culvert that goes in needs an approved culvert permit. So the counties do have the right to say yes or no to anywhere a county or a culvert goes. And if it's gone with the fly-by-night ones that put them in, we have the authority to remove them because of no permits that were issued. Now, the second question is in regards to frontage with any zoning bylaw across all of our municipality, you need certain amount of frontage fronting onto a public road. By creating a reserve, you're eliminating that frontage. So I look at that big long property, the B154, if the culvert is 30 feet wide, you're actually looking at frontage of 30 feet onto a public road, which does not meet municipal zoning bylaws. So I would fully support this and any other ones that we have that would maybe eliminate some of these problems that we're having moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Landry. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you. And if I may, Councillor Landry is 100% correct in terms of what his analysis was there. And I can say that, I would say 1 foot reserves were used quite frequently many years ago, and it's something we've really our department's not using anymore in terms of how to manage access, or very rarely, only in specific circumstances where I would suggest it was a little more common many years ago. So it is, Councillor Landry's points are absolutely correct, and it's something we try to avoid so that we don't, we also end up always trying to clean them up, and that's what we want to get away from, is use our other controls to manage these things.
Very good. Thank you for that. If there are no other questions, I will call a vote. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? And the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ben. Item number 9, consent agenda. Monthly activity summaries, financial summary, SDG library reports. And then 9.4 is a letter from Arnell Moore, the Moore family forest donation. Ben, you're a rock star. Very popular man, if you guys read that. That's pretty funny. Madam Clerk, if you could please read the motion for the consent agenda.
It's moved by Councillor Warden, seconded by Councillor Wirt, that all items listed under the consent agenda section of the agenda be received for information purposes and filed.
All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you very much. Boards and number 10, boards and committees. I've added a very brief warden's report onto the beginning of this so I can keep you updated on Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus activities. Just to let you know that we did have our inaugural meetings, 2 of them last week, or I'm sorry, the week before, and then the last Friday was another meeting in preparation for the Multi-Ministers Forum, which happened just this morning. And I want to thank council members for agreeing to delay the start of the county meeting so that I could attend that. I just wanted to say at the inaugural meeting, or rather the Friday meeting just passed, I did update the Wardens Caucus on the Rural Education Symposium. They received the detail of the executive report, and there was a great deal of interest in that report. I think they had also seen it previously via former councillor Armstrong, and there was significant interest also in attending the symposium. You'll be glad to hear. Stephanie, Councillor Jaworski's name was mentioned by a few members. You must sit on a committee with Councillor Jaworski, and one of the members indicated that they had received the invitation 6 times. So if you're concerned that the message isn't getting out, you no longer have to be concerned, because I think everyone has received the message and the invitation. So that's looking very promising. With regards to the Multi-Ministers Forum, we had Minister Clark, Minister Elliott, Minister Fullerton, and Minister Calandra attend the forum, as well as parliamentary assistants Jim McDonnell and Robin Martin. The Wardens Caucus has 3 significant priorities that it has been focusing on both in 2021, and those priorities are falling over to 2022. And so there were 3 presentations made today. One on municipally funded long-term care homes and the challenges with funding redevelopments and rebuilds with regards to those homes. The other is, now I'm going to go completely blank here. The other is, Tim, help me out.
Through you, Madam Chair, there's Ontario Health Teams is one,
yes,
as well as affordable housing.
Right. So the Ontario Health Teams, which are being set up all over Ontario, there is a significant concern that the governance arrangement for these health teams is not including municipal representatives on their governance boards. And so there was a request to make sure that municipalities are officially brought on side. And then there's the affordable and attainable housing. Every single level of government is on top of this. It's a crisis, not only across Ontario, but across the country. And you can be sure that the Wardens Caucus is front and center in pressing the government to take action. And we are also, of course, taking action locally by involving I think it's a steering committee, excuse me, that is going to be happening at the county level. So that's my update on the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. Joint Liaison Committee, does anybody have an update on that? Stephen or Alan? Or Jamie?
Madam Warden, I can speak to it. We haven't had a meeting set up, and I would request the CAO set up a meeting schedule for the rest of this year so we can pencil it in our calendars. I know we've all gone through budget. The new year has started, and we're getting some stuff from social housing, but I think it's important that we reconnect with our colleagues in the city of Cornwall and get that started. I think we usually start in March, but any time probably is a good time to start and get this thing rolling. So I'll defer the CEO Simpson. But before I close, Warden, could you let County Council know who the chair and the vice chair of the Warden's Caucus is this year? Pretty important role.
Yeah, certainly, Councillor Byvelds. The chair is Debbie Reynolds. No,
Robinson.
Robinson. Debbie Robinson. I'm just getting to know their names, and the vice chair is Liz
Danielson.
Danielson. That's it's the same chair and vice chair from last year at the Warden's Caucus. Very, very able people. Thank you for the updates, Councillor Byvelds. CEO Simpson, can you please go about setting up a meeting?
Yeah. Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Boyle's point, the city CAO and myself usually touch base about now to set the meeting dates going forward. So I'll get in touch with her and we'll get back to the committee. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Library Services Board, Councillor Warden.
Through you, Warden Williams, we had at our last meeting, we started the process for our next strategic plan, and it went over well, and it was a starting point for that. And I think it should be done within the next couple of months.
Thank you, Councillor Warden, for your report. The Police Services Board, Councillor Ware.
I think, Kimberly, it's March that we have our next meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, March 3rd.
So nothing new to report other than that.
Very good, thank you, Councillor Wirt. Eastern Ontario Health Unit, Councillor Gardner.
Nothing to report as COVID rages on.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Glenstordon Lodge, Councillor Byvelds.
I'll defer to Councillor Warden on that. He's
no worries. I'm ready to go. So the Glenstordon Lodge is currently in outbreak, and our meeting that was scheduled for next, I think this Thursday, has been postponed till next month, as they're struggling. This was the last update I had was over a week ago, but there was 8 residents and 30 employees that were affected. So they certainly have been putting all hands on deck to get through this. And I haven't had an update, but I know the Stephen Golden, the manager there, will certainly keep us informed if something needs to be informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Warden. There haven't been any deaths there, though, I'm assuming.
None that we've been made aware of.
Very good, thank you. St. Lawrence River Institute, Councillor Gardner.
Nothing to report, but I believe you may have skipped one.
Okay, I'm sorry. Cornwall and Area Housing, Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Warden. The CHC has, since our last meeting, merged with the City of Cornwall. So we're not needed directly. However, there is some closed meeting business that we have to see through. So until that is complete, we will be called upon to go to a closed meeting business until it's done. So we don't know how long that could take, but that's all we're going to be asked to be part of. I think, am I correct, Jim, with all that? Yeah, so that's it. So actually, we're not needed anymore, except to finish off some closed meeting business, and then we'll be done.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Smith. Can you please let the Madam Clerk know when this item should be removed off of the boards and committees, if it should, and when, if it should?
I will do that, and I'll ask our team to send a letter and explain everything, how it's going.
Very good. Thank you very much. Raisin South Nation source water protection. I have no report. Municipal Advisory, Algonquin-Lancashire. Councillor Fraser? Nothing? Nothing to report. Okay, thank you very
No, I
much.
think he's trying to, I think he's
No,
trying
I lost my screen. I was moving to click and I was somewhere else. But you are correct, Madam Warden. There's nothing to report. But if I may jump on to a comment about the library board, if I can add one, and it wasn't brought up at our meeting, but it's in our package. I just like to bring to all the TikTokers of the world, bring to their attention. You can follow SDG Library on TikTok. To those uninitiated, it's quite appealing to a lot of people. TikTok. So SDG Library on TikTok. Read up. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you for that, Councillor Fraser. The Eastern Ontario Agri-Food Network, the strategic plan has been completed, and the consultant is preparing to unveil the results of the strategic plan to the Board of Directors. I believe it's actually, I believe the meeting is this week, so I'll update you when I have further details on that. And then the Regional Emergency Response Council is now only meeting once a month. And it is actually preparing to distribute the last round of grocery gift cards that are going to the most vulnerable across SDG and Cornwall. Now, you'll recall that there were quite a few food hamper distributions that went on over the last couple of years. They've moved from food hampers to the gift cards because it is a much easier program to administer, and yet it still does give important food offered to those that are most vulnerable at this time of COVID. So that's all I have on that, unless anybody has any questions on that. I'm wondering if we can just take a quick 5-minute break, if everyone's okay with that.
Warden, I will be gone then for the Rural Symposium update. I mixed up my times earlier, so I have a delegation. Yeah.
Okay, well then, would you like us to get through that before break then?
It's totally up to you. Just I'm sure CAO Simpson and Jaworski can answer any questions, but
no, well, let's get through that, and then let's get through 11.1, which is the Rural Education Symposium update, and then we'll take a 5-minute break. So CAO Simpson, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, just very quickly, there's a short key information report in your agenda. Just let everybody know things are moving ahead very well. The symposium is planned for next Thursday, February 3rd. This Thursday, with the panelists, including Councillor Gardner and Jaworski, we're doing a run-through with the panelists to make sure the technology works, make sure everybody knows what their role is. Registrations are going well. And as you know, it's going to be broadcast live as well on YouTube. So everybody's very excited and very much looking forward to the day. And I'm not sure whether, and I know Councillor Gardner and Jaworski, they're working on their presentation to present our material. So if either of them have any comments, go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead, Councillor Gardner, Councillor Jaworski.
I don't have any comments, although it's coming together quite nicely. There is a lot of buzz out there. And yes, Stephanie, Councillor Jaworski and I are working on our presentation. I don't know if the rest of County Council, I'd encourage everybody to participate as much as you can and to register, because I think it's going to be a great conversation and a very broad conversation, which is what we wanted. So it's exciting that it's coming up, and I don't know, Councillor Jaworski, if you have anything to add, but a lot of work has gone into it, and I think it will hopefully hit the target that we'd like.
Sure. If I may, if I may add, definitely on the topic of the presentation, Councillor Gardner and I are working on that, and our goal, of course, in making it, very informative, our goal also is to make it very engaging as well. So when we encourage you to participate, that you'll find it interesting as well. And we want to make sure that it's memorable, but also informative for the participants, so that there really is something that they can take away from it. And just a quick update in terms of reaching the broad audience and invitees. So this morning, I participated in a delegation for the Community Schools Alliance, which was sponsored by the Township of Zora in Southwest Ontario. And it was to PA Sam Oosterhoff. And although, the goal of the presentation was to talk about work by the CSA, and Marcus, the mayor of Zora, was leading the presentation at the beginning, Parliamentary Assistant Oosterhoff did jump in and say, I just want to tell Stephanie before I forget that I'm planning to attend the symposium, your symposium in February. So definitely the message is going out, and it is catching some attention. So looking forward to having really good participation on the 3rd.
Thank you for that, Councillor Jaworski. Councillor Armstrong?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had two questions. Hopefully, one comment. Hopefully, Mr. Oosterhoff remembers to attend better than he remembered to bring to bring a meeting to us with Education Minister himself. But that's fine. He'll maybe remember us the 15th time around. But I'm just curious, when you say registration is going well, do you have an approximate number of how many people have registered, Mr. Simpson?
Through Madam Chair, I haven't had a chance to connect with Todd today. I know more invitations had gone out, but I believe this would have been later in the day on Thursday, Friday morning. There was, I believe he mentioned around 75 at that point. I'm sure it's bigger. It's more than that now. And then the list had been broadened. So I can circle back with him and get that detailed information passed along to you.
Great, thank you. Tim, is that Councillor Bivalds? Thank you, go ahead.
It is, Warden, thank you very much. Just a question to the organizers, and I'm sure it's going to be a great symposium. Have we reached out to all the chairs and directors from the other boards, so to make sure that everybody that we feel we need to have there is there, so we don't get blamed after that they should have been and they're not?
Good question. Who wants to field that answer?
I can. I mean, through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, definitely. All the trustees and all the local boards have certainly been invited. There's a very, very long list of invitees, and now that we're coming into the home stretch, I'm sure that the number that I just mentioned will increase exponentially. And as well, people are anyone can watch it live on streamed on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments on this? Councillor Smith, did you have your hand up? No. Okay. Very good. I'd just like to thank everybody for all of their hard work on this. I know that a lot of work has gone into it, and really looking forward to the 3rd and seeing how this all comes together. It's going to be great. So thanks again. All right. If let's just take. What time is it? It's 12:35. So let's take 10 minutes and come back at 12:45. Okay. Thank you. road rationalization. Ben, if you can please speak to that.
Sure, and thank you. I hope you can see my screen. I guess I'll keep this very brief. Based on our conversation and our meeting last time, council had directed us to not only look at, excuse me, Finch Roxborough Boundary Road, which we had talked about in length, but also perhaps looking at a grander view and how we could put together a work program to capture the entire road network, but also prioritize some of the evaluation we want to do for Finch Roxborough Boundary Road. So what I did was took that feedback from council and came up with what I would consider to be an achievable road rationalization review work plan. And I identified some regular reporting to council in terms of how that is progressing. And with the ultimate completion date of February 2023, so a year and a bit from now. But ultimately what it does is it kind of works out kind of essentially it's two phase. Phase one is really kind of create some of the framework, run Finch Roxborough Boundary Road through that framework, make sure we get council's support of the findings, or I guess, you know, get council's feedback in terms of just the actual kind of the evaluation and policy, and then run, like I said, run Finch Roxborough Boundary Road through that matrix, provide some final recommendations for council for their consideration. And then also we can kind of go back to the draft policy that we've created and that matrix and see if council, you know, if there's any tweaks we need to make based on an actual application of it. And then from there, and I'll just, so that's phase one, and phase two, it really is finalizing that policy and then getting some working groups together and then kind of going through the entire road network system as needed and make those recommendations to council. Again, we're looking in February 2023. So I think I've tried to highlight kind of those key items that we'd be doing when those reports would be coming to council. And if council agrees and has no issue with this, that's the project we'll implement. And you'll see there's quite a bit of reporting at the beginning, and then really after July 2022, we come back in September, and then the final one. So it's intensive at the start, really, to get that initial feedback, and then we're off and running after that. So if there's any questions, happy to, or feedback, I'm here to take notes and take that information.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Dahan. Are there any questions or comments from council? Go ahead, Councillor Bivalds.
Thank you, Warden. Ben, good plan, except for one challenge I see, and you're splitting it into 2 terms of council, and which means technically all of us could be here or none of us could be here next year, and you're splitting a fairly major project and a policy direction of council into 2 terms that may, you know, you're going to plop on the table next February and say, well, we've done the work and now what do you want to do? If they say no, then you're back in the 8 ball. So that's my only caution. I think if you can speed it up and get it in our term, and I tell this at our council too, it's always nice to get everything done so it cleans up the slate for the next one. If we as this council feel it's in major policy direction, then maybe we should have it there before the next one gets going. But that's my only hazard or caution on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bivalds. That's an excellent point. Ben, do you have any solution to that?
No, it's a great point. We did kind of talk about that very briefly at our last meeting too, that it may be a challenge. One thing I will note, the first item in phase 2, I do say opportunity to finalize policy and process in advance of larger review. That's in July 2022. So if you know, we're getting to that point and this seems like this is the natural progression of it, and council really is concerned, you know, that February 2023, just based on how things are shaking out, that they want to get it done quicker. That to me is that opportunity. Like, okay, now we need external support because of XYZ. We need someone to facilitate this, get it done quicker than if it's just in-house. So I did kind of identify an opportunity for council to reevaluate the schedule more or less in July. I think between now and July, it's pretty straightforward. It's not the right answer, but I think like the flow makes sense from now till July.
Okay, other comments, questions? Seeing none, do you want to, Ben, just a quick question. Are you going to attempt to get your screen on? No. Are you going to attempt to dial back that and get that final report in December?
I think if council's okay with it, let's go with the plan that we have right now, and then in July we can revisit that exact comment and see if we need to, because between now and July, I don't think we can do it any quicker than that. Quite honestly.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that, and thank you for your report. Item number 12. Motions and notices of motions. Councillor Byveld.
Thank you, Warden. You caught me at in a cookie time. Sorry about that. So I have sent the notice of motion to the clerk. It has to deal with legislation that enacts the camera system on the stop arm on school buses. The Upper Canada District School Board, through their trustee William McPherson, are going to excuse me, are going to be asking councils to enact what we need to do to have that as part of a regulation within our area. And today's notice of motion is basically to get it on the table for next meeting, and that way we can discuss it, see if we want to continue with it onward, and then have staff report come back to us. So beginning of a process, do not expect an answer today. So Madam Clerk, if you can read the motion for them, please.
Yes, it's moved by Councillor Byveld, but it'll be put on the next County Council agenda for consideration. It reads, whereas legislation was put in place to allow for the legal and lawful use of stop sign cameras on school buses as of June 22nd, 2022. And whereas this valuable tool will serve as a means of enforcement of Ontario's Traffic Act as it applies to illegal passing of stopped school buses. And whereas the trustees of the Upper Canada District School Board encourages that these systems be implemented within a timely fashion to enhance the safety of all school children on their journeys to and from school. Now therefore be it resolved that the county staff be directed to report back with information on the process and proposed bylaw for the implementation of stop sign cameras on school buses in SDG.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So as Councillor Byveld's pointed out, this will be on the agenda of our next County Council meeting. So thank you for that. And no petitions. Under miscellaneous business, number 14.1, AMO resolution request, joint and several liability. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
Yeah, it will require a mover and a seconder. It reads, whereas municipal governments provide essential services to the residents and businesses in their communities, and whereas the ability to provide those services is negatively impacted by exponentially rising insurance costs, and whereas one driver of rising insurance costs is the legal principle of joint and several liability, which assigns disproportionate liability to municipalities for an incident relative to their responsibility for it. And whereas the Government of Ontario has the authority and responsibility for the legal framework of joint and several liability, and whereas the Premier of Ontario committed to review the issue in 2018 with a view to helping municipal governments manage their risks and costs, and whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, on behalf of municipal governments, has provided recommendations in this source document to align municipal liability with the proportionate responsibility for incidents and capping awards. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry does hereby support AMO's recommendations. And further, be it resolved that the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry does hereby call on the Attorney General of Ontario to work with municipal governments to put forward a plan of action to address joint and several liability before the end of the government's current term, so that municipalities can continue to offer high-quality services to their communities. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Attorney General of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, MPP Jim McDonnell, the President of AMO, and local SDG municipalities.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Do I have a mover for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Warden. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And it's carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Item 14.2, resolution for GFL environmental proposal. I'll ask the clerk to put the motion on the table, and then Councillor Wirt will speak to it. Thank you, Madam.
It's moved by Councillor Wirt, seconded by Councillor Landry. Whereas GFL Environmental Incorporated has developed a comprehensive proposal to extend the existing natural gas infrastructure to the Eastern Ontario Waste Handling Facility, EOWHF, in Moose Creek, as a part of a project to convert the existing landfill gas into a fuel source to produce renewable natural gas, RNG. And whereas GFL is prepared to invest $60 million to build an RNG plant, which will allow for the injection of RNG into the North American natural gas grid. And whereas access to natural gas provided through the new pipeline will spur new economic interest for the area, resulting in job creation, residential expansion, and opportunity. Investments in products and services complementary to the local agricultural economy are also expected. And whereas this volume of gas will make an important contribution to Canada's natural gas industry's goal of having 5% RNG blended into natural gas streams by 2025 and 10% by 2030. And whereas, as a corollary environmental benefit, the proposed RNG plant will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by over 175,000 tons of CO2 equivalents, equal to removing 53,000 automobiles from the road for a year, supporting Canada's commitment to net zero emission by 2050. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the United Counties, Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry support GFL's proposal and request that Ontario and Canada also fully support this innovative proposal, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Ontario Minister of Finance, the Ontario Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, the Ontario Minister of Energy, the Ontario Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, the Ontario Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, MP Eric Duncan, MPP Jim McDonnell, and all local SDG municipalities.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That was a mouthful. I'm glad I didn't have to read that. I just want to say that this is indeed a very innovative project. Councillor Wirt has been working on this for, I think, a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken, and it is now sort of coming to the forefront. And you did have the opportunity to read some of the background information that was sent to you previously. And Councillor Wirt, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think that the takeaway from this entire process today is the fact that 10 years ago, we're not even having this conversation. That's just speaks to the evolution of technology and commitment in science. So the bottom line is that it's now been identified by many governments that we're going to address this greenhouse gas issue through many different branches, and the technology that exists is going to allow GFL to take something that they're currently flaring and develop it into a revenue stream. And we're asking the province to support us on this. It's a $28.5 million ask to bring the infrastructure into the system, but in doing so, it will allow several examples of business that will take advantage of not only the gas, but the byproducts of the RNG plant. And I think you've all had a chance to read the presentation. And the bottom line is that, I think that governments have a commitment at all levels to support some of the concerns that are being addressed here on the climate side of things. And these are the types of projects that I think are going to take us a little ways down that road. But they're innovative and extremely exciting. I would like to take note that one of the things we're including in this project is an injection site, because on-farm RNG plants are going to be promoted. We've got one that's already signed and ready to go for the spring of 2022. It's in excess of a $5 million investment that this gentleman's putting onto his operation, and his current injection point is in the Woodstock area. So incorporating it into this facility back there will be one more step to support the infrastructure that's going to allow this industry to move forward. So, and just so you know, the on-farm side of it, if it reaches the potential that's been seen in some other countries like Denmark, it represents 118 million in revenue stream available through natural gas and RNG. So I'm not going to belabor this. I appreciate that everybody's taken some time to review it, and I'll gladly answer any questions. But essentially, Jim McDonnell has had 3 ministers on site, and we're trying to push this over the finish line right now, and that's why I'm asking council to consider support for this motion.
Very good. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, with your consent, Madam Chair, I'll answer any questions that I can, but it is pretty self-explanatory.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wirt. Are there any questions? Councillor McGillis and then Councillor Warden.
Thank you, Madam Warden, through you. Jim, we had a kind of a little bit of a conversation about this. I think this is a great opportunity for not only GFL, but for people that are going to be using this this extra power, if you will. I just want to know, was GFL already committed, or from the province or the federal government, for grants to move forward with this project? I forgot to ask you that question.
No, they're not. They're going to raise the 65 million that's required to put the RNG plant on site, and they're asking the government to support them with the infrastructure extension, which has to come to St. Albert, down east of what we call Series 700. So it's going to go right by the Ford plant in Castleman. And there's a possibility that Castleman could benefit from this as well, which would further support the decision, I think, to invest and then come to the GFL site. But the numbers of the gas production that it's going to allowed into the network is going to be able to service numerous municipalities in the area. The other thing that needs to be pointed out here is that GFL only has 4 years left in its current agreement, and then it will be reaching capacity. So it's in the process of applying for an extension, which is going to essentially allow it to double in size. And that facility will also, that expansion will also benefit essentially from the infrastructure they've established for this RNG plant. So the fact that it's a green site is going to allow some of the innovations that have taken place in Europe to be incorporated here pretty easily. But it's big bucks, and they're asking for some support. So that's why I'm the messenger here today.
Councillor Warden.
Through you, Warden Williams. Having been able to attend the GFL site back in November, it certainly has changed my out view of that place and landfills in general. I certainly support this resolution, and I'm hoping that this will help them achieve what they want to, because I do think there's going to be a benefit. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Warden. Do we have any other questions? I think this is a magnificent project, and one that, as Councillor Wirt has told me more than once, checks all of the boxes, right, Councillor Wirt?
Yeah, there's very few things that you come across that provide so many opportunities for synergy. I'd like to add, I had our planner from the counties, Mr. Young, and Jim McDonnell with me to a greenhouse in Drummondville, where they've implemented this technology, and they're heating a 25-acre greenhouse essentially with the byproduct heat coming off of an RNG plant. And it's the only greenhouse essentially in Eastern Canada that's being able to compete with our traditional markets of Mexico and California. So it's a market model that I think is going to be watched interestingly as it goes forward.
Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, then I'll call for a vote on the motion. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Number 13, no petition. Oh, sorry, where am I here? Unfinished business. I guess we're going into closed session. So Madam Clerk, if you could please move us into closed session.
It's moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Smith, that council proceed in camera pursuant to Section 239(2)(f) of the Municipal Act 2001. Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and pursuant to Section 239(2)(e), litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board for matters related to bylaw enforcement matter, contract issue, and OLT 21001381 Marine Station Road severance.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All in favor of the motion?
Text them to. Oh,
You there, Mike?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good to go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
it's moved by Councillor Gardner, seconded by Councillor McGillis, that council rise from closed session without reporting.
Thank you for that. And if you could please do our ratification bylaw.
Oh, we'll just ask all in favor for the rise.
All in favor of the motion. Thank you, carried. And now the ratification bylaw, please.
It's moved by Councillor Fraser, seconded by Councillor Laundrie, that bylaw number 5333, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. And an adjournment. But before we adjourn, so I think we've agreed that we need a special meeting to be talking about OSIF, extra OSIF dollars, as well as the roads in need. Madam Clerk, will you circulate potential dates?
Yes, I will. I'll work with staff through you, Madam Warden, and to get some dates sent out shortly.
Very good. Thank you. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, February the 22nd, which is not a Monday. It's the Tuesday because the Monday is Family Day. I'm paying attention now to these to these meeting schedules. If there's nothing else from anyone else on County Council, I'd like to thank you all for your attention today. I know it was a little awkward with Roma and all of the rest of it, but I do appreciate your patience. Madam Clerk, if we could have an adjournment by resolution.
It's moved by Councillor Jaworski, seconded by Councillor Armstrong, that council adjourn to the call of the chair.
All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.